the Zone, fans. Welcome back. Rich Sutter, Pete Coles, dynamic duo of the hoop world. We're back, and believe it or not, we've got some action to report, some live action. First action business is Pete's getting married next week and came down with pneumonia. Isn't that the way the world works?
Yeah.
So we're wishing Pete a speedy recovery. He's going to be off with us for a little bit, but he's not feeling great today. We're gonna muddle through as best we can. The weather here is changing rapidly as you're getting those nice little bit of warm afternoons, but the temperature in the mornings is very cool. You know, we're almost in the 30s now, mid 40s, low 40s, and that's cold. So it's getting there. It's getting there, folks, and fall is upon us. Beautiful, beautiful time in New England. But we jump off of Pete's corner. Even if he has pneumonia or not, we still expect Pete to do his bit. All right, Pete, you got three big ones. Let's roll them.
All right, you touched on this one last week, and I want to follow up on it. You talked about LeBron shutting himself down for training camp. Does that mess with the chemistry of a team when your major player shuts himself down for training camp?
Wow. Can you people aren't going to believe how good you set me up on this one, though. So
I wondered because, I was going to ask you if it does the same thing in the college ranks.
So it does. Chemistry's chemistry. You know, it's time on task together. You know, I think the Pacers kind of proved that out last year in their approach with Pascal Siakam being captain and calling the entire team to his house, you know, to train, to work out, to get after it, to build culture. So it was funny that you asked this question because I love my guy DeAndre Ayton. I just think he's kind of been lost in the sauce a little bit in the NBA. The NBA doesn't really send the ball down low to centers that much. It's very guard-driven, very three-point driven. And for a guy like Ayton who plays around the basket, you know, it's a little lonely down there, I would assume at times, because he does have massive talent. And so the funny piece of it is they were interviewing him, and he's with the Lakers now. And I thought it was a great pickup for the Lakers. I like what they're doing with their personnel. And so far you would have DeAndre Ayton, Luka, and LeBron. And so they were asking DeAndre Ayton in an interview, you know, what's the culture, what's the team like? And he says at this moment he still has not worked out with Luka or with LeBron.
Wow.
To this moment. Now, they're in preseason. Games have been played already. We're going to talk about that later in the show. But they got games going on right now, and the games are being played. No Luka, no LeBron, no interaction with their number one pick in the offseason in terms of building that culture and chemistry. And you're talking about three starters as well. Those are three guys that are going to start the lineup together in the 3, 4, and 5 spot most likely, you know, depending upon which way the Lakers go. But I just thought that was odd, and then your question just came right up on it, you know, and it's like he has a way of kind of this is something that can happen with good players is they distance themselves in order so everybody knows how good they are. They create a set of rules for themselves around the team so that everybody knows how good they are. I'll give you an example. Back in the day, Lou Holtz came in to coach the Jets, the great football coach from Notre Dame, came in to coach the Jets. And he came in with a bit of a college mentality and went into training camp and basically said nobody sits on their helmets. Okay, I don't want anybody sitting on their helmet. It's there to protect your head. Joe Namath was late to camp because he was having contractual differences with the Jets at times, so he's a week or so late to camp. Joe Namath, the great Joe Namath, walks in to Jets camp, turns around, takes off his helmet, and sits right on it. So there's that piece of it, too, the dynamic going on as well, where LeBron kind of has his ability to sit on his helmet anytime he wants. Coaching staff knows that. The general managers know that. So there is this set of rules around him. And it's kind of, you know, even with his nickname, you know, King James, you know, there's that vibe about him and always has been that there's this difference between me and everybody else. And sometimes that difference has to be almost created as well. So, great question. I think that the Lakers, I've been, you know, kind of interested this summer to see if all of this works together. I like the new management. I like what they're saying. I don't know if he's the future, though. I really don't. I don't think you can say he's the future. I think every minute you hold on to LeBron James, you're holding on to right now.
Yep.
Great question, though. Let's hit number 2.
All right, I'm going to follow up on that then. I'm going to double down on it.
Beautiful. Let's roll it.
You're talking about a player having different rules for themselves. Does that subvert the team before you even get out of the gate?
The NBA doesn't have a team concept, really.
But that's the game of basketball is founded on the team concept.
Exactly. But the NBA had dismissed that a long time ago. Like, I'll give you an example. Some guys don't want to travel with the team. Team generally travels together.
Yeah.
Guys have a ton of money. They get paid millions and millions of dollars. They can hire their own private jets and do whatever they want and get themselves to the game and be at the game. And so there are guys, that have this thing, I don't want to travel with the team. If you're in this thing and you're saying it's a business, I get paid, I show up, I do my thing. I don't owe you no more. Like Charles Barkley said, I'm not a role model. I don't owe you any more than that. Then that's the way you look at it. If you look at it from your perspective where you say it's a team sport, it's always been built that way. It's built on chemistry, camaraderie, collegiality. It's built on all of those things. Having dinner together, hanging out in hotel rooms together, doing all of those things together, so that you build up that culture so that everybody knows everybody. And amongst 13 moving pieces, 15 moving pieces, that takes time. And it's time on task, And so and part of it is his refusal to be one of those guys, to separate out and be the king, has probably affected his teams greatly in more ways that don't show up on the basketball court.
Yeah, sure.
They just don't have that connection, where I think you saw the Pacers last year were built on that connection. And they ran on that connection, and they overachieved because they had that connection. So I think what you're saying is this is a really, really important part of what the whole thing is. And is that part of the reason that the NBA is as lost and adrift as they are is because they kind of gave that up a long time ago.
Well, if they can't connect to themselves as a team, how are they going to connect the audience as a fan?
That's
right? Like, how are you going to connect to the audience?
That's changed so much too, it really has. Like, the tickets are so expensive.
Yeah.
The audience has dramatically changed in NBA games, in arenas. It's no longer the firemen, the cops, and the teachers, taking their kids to Madison Square Garden and grabbing some good seats and paying decent amount of money for them. But now they're absolutely prohibitive, the amount of money that it costs to sit in a good seat in Madison Square Garden for a Knicks game right now. So that whole crowd thing has changed too from I want to be seen. It's a scene now. Like the Laker games for years, you had Jack Nicholson and you had all those stars that sat courtside because they just wanted to be seen. And it was a great place to be seen. Well, almost every NBA arena is now the place to be seen as opposed to let's have families come in and enjoy the game. I mean, you'll have a tremendous amount of people that aren't necessarily connected to that environment at the games. People come in from international countries. They want to see a Knicks game. You'll have a good portion of that. There's season ticket holders that are largely corporate. Everyone down there from Goldman Sachs to everybody else has seats. In the arena, so they can take their clients, they can entertain their clients, for big games. What's better than taking 3 of your best clients to the Knicks Celtic game and sitting courtside? Those are a lot of the ways the seats are sold now too. But if you look at the upper tiers of Madison Square Garden, that's where you got to buy your tickets now, and it's a tough way to view a basketball game, honestly. It's hard.
Yeah. And
it's still expensive. You still got to park down at the Garden or get down there, and it's got its other pieces too. But that's one of the reasons the NBA is, they've gone really and sold out to a group of people that, by and large, use the game for something else too. They're there to be either seen or they're there to rep their client. They're due to use that game for something else. So it's just another one of these things where it's a business model that's set up it looks like one thing, but it's absolutely something completely different.
All right, so because of that, because of the NBA becoming unfriendly to the common man, middle class, is that why people are so disheartened as to what's happening in the NCAA? Because they see that becoming not for the common man anymore?
One of the distances the NBA grew was between the guy who is making $70,000 and his wife is a nurse and she's doing about the same, and they're getting their bills every month and they're getting crushed every month. They got kids that cost money to go to AAU events now. Every time they step out of their house, they're getting crushed financially, whether they're going to the supermarket, no matter where they're going. So it's going to trickle down for sure. But then what you see is, it was always, I thought, in the NBA was the disparity. You know, I thought you could feel, this might be weird to say, but I thought you could feel a lot closer to the guys when you knew they were very well paid, but they weren't like making ridiculous amounts of money.
Right, yeah. They weren't rock stars.
You know, it's like, you know, go F you money, you know, kind of, because once you pay them that kind of money, you know, what can you really do to have any kind of form of control over the thing? And that's kind of what they've lost as well, too. So I think the disconnect in the NBA was because now you got Jaylen Brown making $50 million to a guy who makes $70 million and goes in for 40 hours a week. And sometimes those NBA guys show up and sometimes they don't. You know, sometimes you go to the arena, plunk down your ticket to see this guy, and he decides to load manage on your kids. You know, just that's the way it is.
Yeah, but is that why college has kind of had a resurgence and a popularity, and now that's going away because NIL and they're jacking up the prices on that too?
It's gonna take a little time, but I don't think how you could see how that wouldn't end up in the same place.
Yeah.
You know, it's gonna take a little time, but you know, now that the players are getting millions of dollars in a college uniform for Notre Dame, it's still the same thing. It's essentially you're calling it the same thing, but you've changed it significantly, dramatically, and you've done that in a very short amount of time, in breakneck speed. So I don't see how they can justify that. But again, they don't care.
Right.
They don't care. So it's really, you know, when you may have somebody come in now and regulate this thing. Congress, somebody else.
Congress can't get out of their own way.
Probably
Sorry.
can't, but there may be some need to regulate it at some point, or some other lawsuit that comes to bear that makes the dividends and the revenue share go wider and broader, you know, to include more people. So I think that there's going to be a lot of this, you know, going on. I don't think this is going to be settled in any way for right now, but I got a few things for you later in the show that are going to tell you it ain't coming back the other way. So I promised last week, and that's what I want to start with, Pete.
All right.
You have one more, or we're good?
No, that was good.
That was it. Bang. Okay.
That was a tough 3 this week because it was like I had another way I was going to go with it, but your answers led to another question.
It was a good 3.
Yeah.
It was a very solid 3. All right. As promised last week, we've got questions here that came up, and they were ESPN questions about every single team in the NBA. We're going to do our best to answer them for you, to give you some legitimate insight, and maybe we'll add a little humor to it if we can, Pete. All right, we're going to start off in Atlanta with the Hawks. People are excited about this team a little more than I am, I think. You know, Trae Young is back and healthier. They also picked up Porzingis from the Celtics to add to their front line. So I don't think that they're, you know, going to be as bad as they were last year. They weren't very good last year. But the question is, are they ready to contend in the East? That's the question that they had for ESPN. I'll answer it quickly. No, they're not. They were 40 and 42 last year. They finished in 9th place in the Eastern Conference. Now, are they ready to move? Are they ready to climb a little bit? Yeah, because I think some people are coming down. It's kind of like an elevator. Somebody's going up, but somebody's got to come down, you know. And maybe the Celtics are coming down, and maybe some other teams might be coming down. But I don't think there's enough coming down where you're going to see a really, really take flight Hawks team, because basically they have all the same people And Porzingis been a bit of a China doll, to be honest with you. So I don't know if you're going to put your whole stock on the fact that you got him and maybe a couple of other guys. We'll see. But there might be enough movement in the East. I don't know, though, because in the East, the Cavaliers are solid still. The Knicks are going to be solid still. They've got some teams up top there that are pretty solid. Okay, Boston Celtics, Pete. I'll let you answer this one. Are they going to make the playoffs?
If I was to say right now, no.
Okay, 20 of the 30 teams make the playoffs.
I think they're going to be just out of it.
That'd make 5 teams in the East that they are not over, and that's it's hard.
They're going to be hovering, man.
I got some Vegas odds here. I got some Vigs from the big boys out in Vegas that are going to say pretty much what you're saying as well too. All right, we move to the Brooklyn Nets. All right, they added Michael Porter. Now they have Cam Thomas, and they say, is there enough space for those 2 players? This is the Brooklyn Nets, folks. The worst draft day of anybody I'd seen in a long time, just recently. And believe me, when I tell you they need help, it's 911 emergency time in Brooklyn. They need as much help as they can get. Cam Thomas and Porter, that's a good start. All right, but to think that they can't play together with the barren wasteland of talent that team has right now, forget about it. Keep an eye on those draft picks too, Pete. See how many of those 5 make the team. The Charlotte Hornets, can LaMelo Ball be a star? I don't know. He is great right now. Can anybody be a star in Charlotte? That's the question. They stink. Chicago Bulls, will the young players step up? Matas Buzelis is an exciting young international player, recently drafted the year before. They have Josh Giddey. They've got a couple of other guys with Sengue, who they just drafted. Are the Chicago Bulls going anywhere? No, they're not. They're going to be, of the 30 teams in the NBA, I think they'll be in the 25, 26 range. Cleveland Cavaliers, are they going to get over the playoff hump? Is last year a wake-up call? Is what happened to Virginia going to happen to the Cavaliers? Virginia University was the first team ever to lose as a number 1 to a 16 seed in the NCAA tournament. A good group of those players came back, licked their wounds, went to the weight room, went to the gym, came back and won the national title. Does that happen for the Cavaliers? I think it does. Because they were a young team to begin with. They went through some growing pains. And let's be point blank. They ran into a red-hot Pacers team, and that can happen. Some teams get really, really hot at the end of the year. You run into them, and it's bad.
Yeah, but I think
they're playing really good.
Only if they have a sense of team. If they remain individuals, they had a little bit of sense of team last year, and that's why they did as well as they did. If they falter from that and they all think that they're the man, they won't do anything.
100% right. 100% right. They got to continue to build that culture and identity. The Mavs, will we get Kyrie back to form? Will we get Kyrie back to form to lead that team with the young Cooper Flag looking for Rookie of the Year? What do you think, Pete? Can Kyrie get back and get into form?
If Kyrie can be that adult in the room, yeah.
I gotta see if they got rid of Gafford. They still have Lively. I saw some of those, but I didn't see Gafford's name in the lineup the other day. I got to see if they got rid of him.
Kyrie's not going to have the physical skills he once had, but now he should have the basketball IQ.
Yeah, he does. He's got a good IQ for the game, and he could be a leader in the locker room. He would command that type of respect. He could do a good job with that. They also have Klay Thompson on that team, adding Cooper Flag. You've got Lively from Duke. I like that lineup a little bit. They can get going. The Denver Nuggets, do they have the depth and do they play enough defense? Oof. No and no.
Does anybody play defense?
They let some of their depth go. They had won the title. They let some of their depth has just little by little slipped out of town. And, do they play enough defense? No. Murray plays 0 defense. Joker plays 10% maybe. So they don't have a good frame for that. And one of the things you'll find out is And it's funny because I did coach some international players. International players think of defense as something that's just only required to get the ball back. The only thing they do is just to get it back. Just give it back to us. We'll outshoot you, we'll outscore you, we'll outpace you on offense. That's the European style. They've never really been heavy on the defensive side of the ball. Detroit Pistons. Will Jaden Ivey be able to get back into the uniform and really help this team? I think that's good. I don't really know. I think they got to worry more about Cade Cunningham right now, who I think is emerging into an NBA absolute star. Showed pretty well in preseason game the other day. I keep an eye on him. He leads that team. He goes with that team. If Ivy can get in there and be a piece for sure, but we'll have to see. Golden State Warriors, did they get Kuminga and his contract done? They did. That was huge for them. They had to get it done. They also signed Al Horford. So now you're looking at Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, Al Horford. You got Kuminga on the front line. They've got some other guys up there. You also got Dirty Draymond. So it's not a bad lineup. It's not a bad lineup. The Golden State Warriors, they are a couple of injuries away from having a bad lineup, though. They don't have great depth. Houston Rockets, okay, can they contend without Fred VanVleet, who's going to be out with an injury now? He's going to be out for the entire season with ACL. They picked up Kevin Durant, but VanVleet had really been playing well for them. But I think they're overstating his significance here. You just picked up Kevin Durant. Fred VanVleet don't matter right now. You got Kevin Durant. You got some other really good players on this team. I think they can certainly climb over the loss of VanVleet. All right, Indiana Pacers. What are their expectations right now, Pete? Are they, where could they possibly be with their expectations when you have Tyrese Halliburton going to be out for a good period of time with an Achilles injury? You've got a situation where Miles Turner is now in a Bucks uniform. He played great for them last year. They've had some pickups, but they got some issues, and they are a little bit like the Celtics where, one of their best players is hurt. Some of their depth has ebbed out of town, and now you're going to have to see if some of these other guys can step up, and it's going to be hard to keep it at that level. Look for Mathurin to have to step up on this team. He was a guy they went in and out with a little bit last year. Benedict Mathurin's going to need to step up big. Clippers, Kawhi, they're investigating him for the money that he got from the guy who owns the Clippers for some no-show job that he had as part of this company. Is that going to be a part of the Clippers' formula? No. These guys probably all get paid under the table, off the table, around the table. They get contracts. They get this. They get that. If they show up at a golf course, for crying out loud, they get paid. So I don't think anybody on the Clippers cares anything about Kawhi. I think the NBA, what they do is, they have interest to put it away. I think they will. The Lakers. This has been an interest of Pete and, of course, of everybody. Is this LeBron's last season? He came out the other day and says, I've got a major announcement, comes out with some crazy stuff that had nothing to do with basketball, and then comes out, and then everybody's going, is this going to be his announcement about his last season? So far on that front, nothing new. I would say no. And I'll go back to something I said on a previous show. Haven't seen the diminishment of his skills to where you would say, hey, big guy, let's hit the door. There's been a bunch of players in the NBA that you looked around and go, man, you should have hit the door 3 years ago, But you have not seen the diminishment in his skills. So I'm not going to call for it. He can stay as long as he can play. That's the way I look at it. The Grizzlies, can they retool? Can they get some help? I don't know, man. That franchise seems to have a little bit of a voodoo hex on it. I'm not sure what's going on there. But they've got some talent. They got some players, but some of their guys miss an awful lot of games from suspension to this and that. I think they got to hold it together, and they got to grow up a little bit if they want to step up into the NBA hierarchy. You got the Heat. Can they rebound? Can they erase the taste of losing Jimmy Butler, having all of that Dern and Strong go on last year during the season, have it be a disruptive part of their season and their culture? Can they bring that back? Let me tell you something, folks down in Miami. You're in serious trouble. You're in trouble. You got Hero that's hurt right now. Adebayo's okay, but Kel'el Ware is better than Adebayo right now. Kel'el Ware, their young big man, is tearing it up in the combine, tearing it up in preseason, and right now If I was them, he's a better player than Adebayo right now. Either find a way to play them together or get Adebayo out of town because the Heat need help, and you might be able to get something for Bam Bam. Okay, the Bucks, are they a contender again? With Giannis staying and also adding Miles Turner? Absolutely no. Okay, they're not, and they're not going to be. They're way, way off from where they should be talent-wise. They've tried to fill it with pieces. They tried to fill it with Dame Lillard, the piece. They're trying to fill it. You know, they lost Middleton. They lost some other guys. They lost Jrue Holiday. Franchise hasn't been the same since they let Jrue Holiday go. But they lost a lot of pieces, and they've been trying to fill the missing pieces with a piece. And I think that's been part of their problem. They need a massive, massive roster overhaul right now around Giannis if they're ever going to compete. He said today he's happy. He's in the Bucks uniform, but there's always that but hanging out there. All right, Timberwolves, are the young players ready to step up, move forward, and get going? I say yes, they are. They've been making good runs in the playoffs. Randall is a seasoned player. I think the thing that bothers them the most right now is positional, because after trading Big Cat, they brought in Julius Randle. They didn't really fill that center void that they have there. They got some really good talent. Anthony Edwards, one of my favorites, but I think they got to start to think about, having a better front line than what they have right now. I thought that hurt last year. Pelicans, are they healthy? I like the way Zion's been training. We'll have to see how they go. Derek Queen, we'll see what level of conditioning he has as far as this season can go. But right now, I'd say the Pelicans are going to have a really, really rough year unless Zion can carry them. The Knicks, Coach Brown, going downtown. Will he change the lineup? Will he keep the lineup? Will they look to make some additions? Are they going to get into some of that young talent that they've had around the bench for a bit and see? I don't know. I think they're going to stay status quo. I don't think he's going to want that on him to come in, have mixed up some things, and if it don't work, there's only one guy they're going to point the finger on there. So I think Brown is more of a seasoned NBA guy, going to come in, hold the line, change some things, probably play more players than Thibodeau did, have a bigger depth chart, a little bit bigger lineup, but that remains to be seen as well, too. The Thunder, do they have a hangover? I don't think so. I think this program's ready. I think they're poised to repeat. I think they're doing pretty good. The Magic, they got a pretty good group there with Desmond Bane, Banchero, Wagner. Are they ready to grow up, step up, and be that team? I think they are. If they can keep the injuries down, I think they're going to be okay. Sixers, everything around that goes Joel Embiid and his health. Is he going to stay healthy? I don't see how he does, to be honest with you, because I think the knee is shot. I think you get to a certain point in your career where some parts just wear out, and I think he's at that part with the knee. I don't think they've been able to do much with that, and so I think that's going to be problematic. And as long as that stays problematic, they have Paul George. That's problematic as far as lineup, as far as games played. I think they got problems with the Suns. Booker on the rebuild, Devin Booker, big contract. Again, they lost Durant. They cleaned out some other pieces. I just don't see it. I think the Suns are really, really susceptible this year to having a terrible season. Could be one of the teams that just sinks to the bottom. All right, the Blazers, they're going to bring Lillard back. He's probably been training hard to see what point of the season he jumps in. I wonder what that means for Scoot Henderson as well, the guard they drafted third 2 years back. I wonder if that's going to hold up. The Kings, can the offense hide the defensive flaws that they have? I don't think they can. It hasn't so far. I don't know what's going to change. They need some guys that actually get into a stance, transition defense, and play defense, rebound, and get out. They got one guy on that team that rebounds the ball. Everybody else is looking to shoot it. Got the Spurs. Can they overcome a lack of three-point shooting? They signed Dylan Harper. I don't know, he'll help in that area, but if you really had a three-point deficit shooting and you had Stephen Castle, you might have wanted to look another way, but that's up to them. All right, they're going to see what Wembanyama, but he's back now. He's playing. Raptors, what will it look like? The worst of the worst of the worst. This will be the worst team in the NBA this year, folks. That's my guess with the Raptors. The Jazz, can they take another step forward? Ace Bailey, Mark Cannon needs to play more. But if they can keep some of that lineup together, they have some pieces, but we'll see. And the Wizards, can they be competitive while they're on the rebuild? Most people don't think so. Most people don't think so. Right now, they're in at least, the bottom 3 or 4 of the NBA, without question. All right, so we talked to you about some action. We had action. We had action all over the world. Okay, we're going to give it to you a little bit, go through it, tell you what happened. We've got live basketball. Thank God, folks. The summer was great. It was awesome, but we've got live basketball. We're going to have live NCAA basketball very, very soon. The lamp is lit, folks. Thank God. Let's get ready to rock and roll. It's going to get a little colder. You're going to snuggle up by that TV, and you're going to watch game after game after game, and you're going to love every minute of it. I think one of the things that's been exciting about this new affluence, the new influence of the Power Four is that you're going to see some really, really good preseason matchups because that kind of scheduling, the way it goes, kind of dictates that. They're not really, able to hide in total cannoli land anymore. They're not able to bury themselves in the Willy Wonka cupcake factory anymore. And so they got to come out and play a little bit, and that's exciting for the fans because you're going to get to see some good games. Okay, the Knicks beat the 76ers 99-84 in Abu Dhabi. Now, here's something that I noticed. In a regular preseason game, not many of the regular guys would be around. Some of them would load manage just like LeBron's doing right now. That's huge in the NBA. But when you go to Abu Dhabi and they're paying money for your team to be over there, they're probably going to get some guys. So the Knicks had a couple of their guys in. The Sixers, went with their group. They had VJ Edgecombe, had 14 points, but he was 1 of 6 from three-point range. Tyrese Maxey, I'm excited to watch that all season long, to see that Edgecombe-Maxey grouping in the backcourt, to see how well it survives and thrives. Janai Broom, I'm excited about him. He had 5 points and 4 rebounds in limited time. The Knicks, they brought their guys. They had Brunson.
Hey, Coach.
Yes, sir.
When the Sheik picks up the tab, you play.
That's right. Big. I bet it was a big tab too. Out
WWE has been capitalizing on that for years now.
Oh, no doubt.
Years.
No doubt. And when it's over there, it's the money is very, very fluid.
Not an object.
Fluid.
Not an object.
You got Brunson, Big Cat, and Bridges all played over there. So they said, hey, look, we'll give you the money, but we want to see the stars too. Justin Edwards, everybody was excited about him out of Kentucky. 0 points, 0 from 8 from the field, 0 for 7 from three-point range. You might want to get a little closer, my man. All right. The Pelicans against, here we go, Pete, Melbourne United. I guess they're in Australia. 107-97. Zion played. He had 15 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists. Solid performance because the minutes were shortened up there. Jeremiah Fears, the guard, who was just drafted recently, a little higher than we thought he should have been. He was 3 for 15, 0 for 6 with the 3 ball. Queen is out for wrist surgery. They also have Mr. Poole, who went 11, 4, and 4. All right, then we move in. We got the Suns and the Lakers. All right, this is load management, Luka and LeBron. No Luka, no LeBron so far. Booker played and set a good example. The Suns won 103-81. Booker played. He had 24 points, 2 rebounds, 7 assists. Austin Reeves played well for the Lakers. And Bronny was 1 for 12, 1 for 8 from three-point range. Young man isn't shy, but might want to tone it down a little bit from three-point range. 1 for 8. That's not going to make anybody happy. Okay, you've got the Knicks again right back at it with the 76ers. And we go here. They beat them this time 113-104 in Abu Dhabi, so they played 2 games out there. Brunson had 14. Anunoby had 13. Edgecombe, solid game, 10 and 5. He was 2 for 10 from three-point range, though. Some of these guys, you're making a lot of money. You know what? Swing by Western Mass, and we'll work on that jump shot for you because this 1 for 6, 1 for 8 stuff is terrible. Janai Broom, pretty good game there. Andre Drummond, the greatest rebounder of all time, according to Andre Drummond, had 7 points and 11 rebounds in 16 minutes. You keep that up, Andre, we're gonna Going to call you the greatest rebounder of all time, although the record books say you're not even in the top 20. Hapoel Jerusalem, Pete. Hapoel Jerusalem.
We'll put that name on my all-tournament team.
88 versus the New York Brooklyn Nets, 123. Claxton, 11-8. Ben Saraf playing against his Israeli compadres, 9-6 in 18 minutes, 6 assists. And the guy I've been waiting for is Noah Clowney from Alabama, playing well. He had 13, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists. Now we slide over to Saturday. You got the Magic versus the Heat. This is a big one, the battle for Florida. And we go 126, Magic 118 for the Heat. The Magic took 39 threes. The Heat took 29, but were 14 for 29 for 48%. It leads me to stop here for a second, Pete, and ask the question, do you think the NBA corporate made the call downstairs and said, hey, fellas, ease off the 3 ball? We don't need 100 threes in a game. The fans are rejecting that. Do you think that because I'm looking here with both of those teams who used to jack them all year, they didn't. Jace Richardson, good game out of Michigan State. Tristan Da Silva, very solid. And Khalil Ware has been tearing it up. I'm telling you, he's better than Adebayo right now. They ought to make that switch. Timberwolves versus the Nuggets. Anthony Edwards did not play. Joan Berringer recently drafted 14-4, 0 assists. Okay? It's give it to me and go away. Give it to me. It's the give and go. Give it to me and go rebound. It's once I get it, I'm shooting it. They got Bones Highland. He played well. And here's a great name for you, Pete. You're going to love this. He had 16 points, 6 rebounds. Again, another 0 assist man. Give it to me and get lost. Johnny Juzang. All right, he's out of UCLA. The Joker played in that one as well for a little bit, not too much. Pelicans against PNX Melbourne. All right, we're back in Australia, Pete. Zion, 8, 9, and 3. Pretty good game in 15 minutes. Jeremiah Fears was 12-1, but didn't shoot it again. My guy, Yves Missy, the big man out of Baylor, 10, 6, and 3 assists for the big guy. He likes to pass the ball, too. Really, really good future for that young man, I think. If he's going to help the Pelicans, that's going to be something special. Thunder over the Hornets, 135-114. They pick up right where they left off. Aaron Wiggins drops big numbers, 23 and 6 assists. The Duke fans will be happy to hear Knupple's been playing well, 18, 2 and 2, 4 of 10 from three-point range. Those numbers, 40%. So the Warriors and the Lakers, again, we got load management for Luka, but we did see Steph blow into town. He played, and he had 14 points. All right, we got the Bucks and the Heat. Pete Nance, 15 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Kel'el Ware, again, get ready for this, Pete. The Heat lose 103-93 to the Bucks. But here's my guy, Kel'el Ware, in 23 minutes off the bench. 18 points, 13 rebounds. I don't know who's coaching that team in the preseason. If it's Spoelstra, you need to start him, coach. You need to start him. Reed Shepherd on the Rockets, they're trying to pump him back up. Had a terrible year. I told them not to take him at 3. I said 33. They didn't listen. They took him at 3. 122-113. The Hawks have Porzingis, and Alperen Sengun showed up for the Rockets, which is a good sign, and had a very good game, 19-5 and 6. All right, the Pistons, right where they left off last year, over the Grizzlies, 128-112. Cade Cunningham, I'm so excited about this young man's future. 23 and 4 assists out of Oklahoma State. He's a stud, folks. Keep an eye on him. All right, the Grizzlies also, the Pistons. We have Ty Jerome, 16, 4, and 3 assists, traded from the Cavaliers. Cedric Coward, 0 for 7, 0 for 4. Maybe should have went to Duke, Cedric. The Spurs over the Guangzhou Looney Lions. I'm going to say it again. The Guangzhou Looney Lions. The Spurs, 119 over the GLL, 88. Wembayana, 9, 10, and 7 assists. Solid game. Here's a name for folks from the past. One of the great college players in the last bunch of years, Frank Kaminsky, playing in China, not on an NBA roster, had a monster game, 22 points, 7 rebounds, 5 of 10 from three-point range. Victor Oladipo also playing with the Guangzhou Looney Lions, 25 and 3. Not bad, not bad. All right, we're up now on Monday. We've got the Mavericks and the Thunder. Everybody excited to see Cooper Flagg. 106-89 the Thunder. First time they've lost a game in a while. They like this guy, Brooke Barnhizer, though. 16 and 7 out of Northwestern. Cooper, 10, 6 and 3. Solid game in pretty short minutes. And then Anthony Davis as well showed up 7 for 7 from the floor. Monster game for Davis. If he can stay healthy, that team has a chance because they do have some pieces around it. Nuggets, 112. Raptors, 108. The Joker, 17, 6 and 5. Murray, 17, 4 and 2. Good sign for the Nuggets. Ingram and Barrett both had 19 for the Raptors. It's going to be a long year in Toronto, folks. The Bulls, 118 over the Cavs, 117. This is on Tuesday. Matas Buzelis, 19 and 8. Very solid game. The big man Mobley for the Cavs had 12 and 6. Their lineup wasn't as solid as it normally is. And that's what we've got, coming up. Pretty much that was Tuesday. There were games last night. They were late games, and I can give them to you. Further on Tuesday, here it is. We had the Pacers, 135 over the Timberwolves. Siakam, 14 and 3. Randall, 14 and 4. Anthony Edwards, 17 and 1. Last night, you had the Spurs over the Heat, 112-107. The Rockets played the Jazz. Celtics against the Grizz. Blazers and Warriors. Raptors and Kings. We'll get those scores for you later in the week. It was a little bit late last night. We couldn't get to all of them. All right, NCAA basketball.
That's what happens when you play it all over the world.
Yeah, they got them going on, and they're coming on from everywhere. Okay, this is interesting. We talked about it, but then they slipped something right in there when everybody was talking about it. The NCAA tournament is reportedly close to expansion. They want to expand to 76 teams. Right now, they're at 68. What they want to do is they have 12 opening round games inclusive of 24 teams that would create first-round buys for a good portion of the field, ring the register a little bit more, as Pete alluded to. The Big Four mostly are going to suck up those buys, so you're going to see the top 25 teams not even playing in the first round. I don't know how people feel about that. It's going to be kind of a reshuffled deck. I don't know. The funny piece about this is
they're going to alienate their viewership.
They're going to alienate people, but they're also, it's a bit of a Trojan horse. And I'm going to say this and I don't know that they have a choice anyway, but the mid-major schools are really pushing for this. Talking about UMass, you're talking about Akron, George Washington, St. Bonaventure, VCU.
Yeah.
Those basically have been reduced to one-bid leagues. They're getting one bid. And in order to try and become multi-bid leagues again, I remember back in the day, the Atlantic 10 was pulling 3, Back in that day, though, there was a different setup. Now we really have this numerical thing brought in. They're really doing the mathematics, weapons of math destruction, and they're bringing that to the table. So this thing's really laid out. You're going to knock, unless you have the automatic qualifier there for those lower teams are never, ever going to get near the tournament. And so they're talking about expansion. They were talking about 72, which was a gentle nudge from 68, up to 72, but now they're talking about 76, taking it around. Here's why I think it's a bit of a Trojan horse, folks, because when they do this numerical stuff, the reason they got all the mid-major schools pushing is because they convinced the mid-major schools that based on all of the numericals, they would have had 3 more teams in the tournament if they had this expanded format. 4 more teams in the tournament out of that expanded team format. And I would say be careful about that because that's not how it's worked in the past.
I have an answer. My future machine is working again, and this is the mid-majors response in a couple of years.
Hold that brass fraction dirty Naga hunting Samuels on it.
Because you know why? Because the power forwards suck those spots up
They're
too.
going to take every single one of them. They're looking to bounce these guys to the street, and they don't even know it.
Yep.
Okay? They're also, Pete, you're going to love this. Pete, you're really going to love this. The NCAA right now, I think they're going to do this in order to rip the Band-Aid off of something that's really permeated their whole sport, is they're going to allow athletes to bet on pro sports right now.
No.
Yes, they are.
Well,
Yes,
that's
they
the end
are.
of that.
That's, the reason I want to inform our viewers also, though, the reason they never let that happen in the past is because it was illegal to gamble in most places. So in order to gamble, you had to do it with people that were doing it illegally. And when they would get somebody who was jammed up to the tune of $100,000, they knew they weren't going to get their $100,000 that way. Then they started fixing games. So they'd get their $100,000 back that way. So that's why they did this all along. Now, if you're telling me it's going to be alleviated because it's all above board now, with these new sites and everything's legal and you go in and you put your credit card in and everything's above board, I'll listen.
Hey,
but
don't go near a locker room in Massachusetts then, because you're going to smell something funny.
if
If you're saying it's not banned anymore because it's legal, okay. That means you're going to be smelling cannabis.
Oh, no question. And you already that's another cat that's out the bag. That's that one. They stopped fighting that a long time ago. It was also very expensive for the NCAA to drug test like they did, but again, probably not too many things less American than drug testing athletes at random, in my opinion. But you're going to go from 24 of those teams. You're going to have 12 of them will lose, 12 of them will win. Then they'll add on, and then you'll go from that group to the 64. Then go 32, 16, 18, and 4 like normal. It doesn't change a whole lot moving forward from there, but it does create this first round, whatever it's going to be. Might even be better than some of those play-in games, though, that I think stink right now. So they are close to letting the NCAA is close to letting them bet on pro games. Division II and Division III to follow. They've also set up, I don't know if they wanted to do this in Bruce Pearl's memory, but they've also set up a snitch line. Got a snitch line now.
Snitch line?
Snitch line for anybody who wants to complain about NIL, report NIL violations, what they consider to be NIL violations. Unbelievable. All right? See something, say something. Taken to a whole new level right now, boy. All right. It ain't just Bronny. All right? So we're talking about nepotism in the NBA. You got Bronny, with the Lakers, so many. I would say if you took a poll of 100% of America, I would say they'd come up with 80% of America would say he's got no business being in the NBA, except that his dad happens to be the king. All right? But now you also have Giannis's brother is on the Bucks. He was in and out of the NBA, in and out. Now all of a sudden he's in. He's got a contract. He's ready to go. Steph Curry has his brother, Seth Curry, on the Warriors. So it really is, how big a dog are you? If you're a big dog, you get to bring in your family. It's just funny. There's just a lot of that going around. Giannis says he's devoted to the Bucks, hopelessly devoted to you, as Olivia Newton-John said. And then he also said, which now when you say but, it makes everything you said before that disappear. And he said, but, if this doesn't straighten out, I'm going to be out of here. Allen Iverson, interesting cut from him. It was an original. They call him the original AI. Okay, it was interesting to see. He's been sober now, cleaned up his life a good bit, and really, really cool to see that. They have a cut that they name after him. It's called the Iverson cut that they have in all of these offenses now that you see. It's a certain cut that they used to run for him. But he's talking about abstinence now from alcohol, out there putting out a good message. He talks about his divorce, very open. He was a great player back in the day, really, really great Big East player as well. Actually had the opportunity to coach against him. I could give you a quick Allen Iverson story, which was a funny one. One of our guys, we had a real skinny kid on our team, Derek Hyra, and Derek was good getting the loose balls, and we used to have guys get a loose ball and clear through. Don't dribble it, pick it up and clear through. So him and Iverson in the Georgetown game are going for a loose ball. Hyra picks up the ball, turns, and smashes Allen Iverson in the face with an elbow. His bony little elbow got right in there under Iverson's face, split his whole face open. And at that time, we were probably down by like 25 points anyway. So I look at the head coach, and I say, well, at least we don't have to worry about him anymore. And Iverson goes off. And then about 10 minutes later, much to my chagrin and surprise, he comes out of the locker room, stitched up, angry, and he's going to come down on that guy, and he's taking it out on our guys. Now, at that time, we had a twin towers of a Donald Foyle, who was the all-time leading shot blocker in NCAA history, and we had another great young player, Timmy Bolin, 6'10", 6'11", inside. There was a loose ball after getting a bunch of stitches in his face. Now, he's 5'10", Pete. He's my size. After there's a loose ball under the basket, our two guys are standing there scrambling for the ball. He picks the ball up and off of 2 feet goes up and dunks the ball over both of those guys. Turns around and stares at our bench and runs down and just destroyed us for the rest of the night. I'm glad to see he's straightened up his life, gotten it together, because it's so important, so important. You know, pull it together before it's too late. You know, Magic Johnson going to lead the 137th Rose Bowl parade. Unbelievable. NBA has put out a cease and desist on 3 ballers, I think. I think the NBA has put out the fatwa on those 3 ballers sitting back on the line. They don't mind the guys who can take them and make them, but nobody, and I mean nobody, wants to see 100 threes in a game. That's one of the reasons you got problems. All right. Here's some good ones, Pete. I'm only going to take a few of them because they're going to might make a few of the people here suffer and have nausea, not be able to hold everything down in their stomach when they hear this, all right? This is per game. Now, we go under this, and we're going to say could be a Rico Suave case, all right? Rico Suave case goes under theft of service, embezzlement, fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud, okay? Joel Embiid, $2,706,102 per game. He played 19 games last year, folks. Averaged 23 a game while he was there. Thanks for coming down, big guy. We appreciate you. Okay, Mr. Wiseman, we have you charged with $2,237,691 per game. One game. 6 points for the whole season. Nice.
That's some people make it a lifetime.
Mr. Melton, $2,137,000, 6 games, 10 points. Ingram, $2,900,000, 18 games. Taylor Hendricks, he's fallen into this. I don't know if he's played a full season. Out of UCF, $1,949,560,000. He played 3 games, average 4.7 points. He's 6'10". Thanks for showing up, big guy. Kawhi, we got the law firm on here. We used to have a leg law firm. Leonard, Embiid, and George, the law firm. And we still have them here. Leonard, $1,333,784 over 37 games. That's a full season for him. For Kawhi Leonard, that's a full season. Here's Big Zion, the Big Z, $1,224,189 over 30 games. He averaged 24 a game. I can't keep reading it anymore, Pete.
Hey, Coach, I just did a little math. 75,000 years, which a lot of people make that, right, as an individual income. 50 years of work time. You know how much that is?
It ain't.
Total.
It ain't $2 million.
It's 3.75. But
Wow.
that's your entire lifetime.
And
these guys are making that in 2 games.
A game. Per game.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. When you see $2,727,000 for per game,
Yeah.
I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Yep.
That's unbelievable when you see it like that. Okay, here's my guys. They call themselves No Vig. I love it. No Vig. The Vig stands for vigorish. The vigorish is the 10% you pay on your bet after you lose. So if you gamble and you lose $200, you pay $220 because that's the bookie's money. That's how the bookie makes money. Okay? So Mr. Vig, the No Vig, here they come. The Thunder, 99.6% chance of making the playoffs. Cavaliers, right behind them. Rockets, Knicks, Nuggets, Magic, all in the 90% range to make the playoffs from Mr. Vig. Okay, you got the Hawks, 86, way too high. Timberwolves, 86. Lakers, 84. Pistons, 82. They're all solid. They're all solid. Plus, you also have almost everybody in the NBA making a playoffs. Clippers, Warriors, Bucks, down in the 70% range. 76ers at 68. I thought that was interesting. Got to be healthy. Spurs at 63. Here's the Celtics, Pete. They think the Celtics will make the playoffs. Because if it's the first 20 that you include, because they're going to have 10 and 10 on either side, they say the Celtics are coming in eighth, 62% chance of that. All right, I don't know about that. The Heat at 51. Just going down here, I want to show you the drop-off, though. All right, so it goes down. I'm going to go all the way to 21 to the Grizzlies, who have a 43% chance of making the playoffs. From 21 to 22, which is the Kings, you lose 22 points. It goes to the Kings, 19% chance of making the playoffs, which is basically you're not making it. Now here we go with these teams that are 19.7 and below. Kings, Bulls, Blazers, Suns, Pelicans, Hornets, Wizards, Nets, and Jazz. No shot. I wouldn't say no shot there, but
No shot.
that's not, yeah, it's no shot. With those odds, it's no shot. All right, folks, we're almost out of time. We've had a good run, 128 shows. We really appreciate all of you coming in. The thing about we're excited is during the season, we will bring back to you our Super 25 of the NCAA, who's up top this year. We're thinking St. John's is going to be near the top. We like Purdue. We like Houston. I think we're going to have some interesting conference arrangements, especially in the Big East, where it's kind of a binary. You've got some people that have a loaded roster and look really good, and then it falls off tremendously. If you look at the ACC, I think you're going to see maybe for the first time in a while North Carolina and Duke not being at the top of the ACC. I don't see North Carolina being anywhere near that, and Duke, I think they might have slipped. With all the one-and-done stuff that goes on there, I think they might have slipped. It's going to be a real challenge for that coaching staff to pull it all together. They also lost their associate head coach, Jai Lucas, took over the Miami job. I think the bottom of the ACC is really going to struggle. Be interesting to see. Folks, again, thank you. Great week. We'll get you set up next week, and we'll be ready to rock and roll. You're in the zone, baby.